Hey, welcome to my channel. Have you noticed how every year after the Met Gala, the internet turns into a gigantic ranking system? Best looks, worst looks, meh looks, this ate, flop, really bad. Most of those judgments are built on a misunderstanding of what the Met Gala actually is. So before we talk about why everyone is wrong, we need actually to understand the structure of the Met Gala. What is actually the Met Gala about? Well, the Met Gala is hosted by the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and more specifically, it raises money for the Costume Institute, which is the only department of the museum that has to fund itself, basically, with no permanent budget and no guaranteed funding. So everything from exhibitions to acquisitions has to rely on donations, which is a bit sad. And the Met Gala is actually the primary source of revenue. So at its core, the Met Gala is a fundraiser and not a fashion show. But obviously, it didn't start as the Met Gala that we know today. The event was originally a small society-focused dinner that changed over time, of course, especially under the direction of Anna Wintour in collaboration with Vogue. So the guest list became exclusive, with celebrities replacing socialites and designers buying table seats and dressing attendees in their designs to generate publicity. And slowly, the event became a global media spectacle. And today, the red carpet is the main event. It's dissected, memed, ranked, and circulated across every platform. The Met Gala operates on two different layers that most people confuse. The first is the exhibition theme, and the second is, of course, the dress code. The exhibition is created by the Costume Institute. It's more academic, created and grounded in art history, in theory, and also in research, while the dress code is something else entirely. It's more of a simplified communicative prompt. It's designed for celebrities, designers, media, and the public. And this is where I think most people make their first mistake, is that they assume that the dress code is a direct translation of the exhibition. In fact, it's selective interpretation. And we've seen a confusion every single year. Like, take 2024. The exhibition was Sleeping Beauty's Reawakening Fashion. It focused on the fragility, preservation, and the temporality of garments. But the dress code was the Garden of Time. So what happened? People showed up dressed as flowers, nature, and fantasy landscapes. And was it visually impressive? Yes, of course. But conceptually, I think it was often disconnected from the actual exhibition. Or even in 2023, where the theme for the exhibition was Karl Lagerfeld, a line of beauty, and the dress code was in honor of the late designer Karl Lagerfeld. And still, most people reduced it to pearls, tweed, Chanel references, instead of engaging with structure, line, and Karl Lagerfeld's design philosophy. If we step back, we can see that the exhibition is complex, while the dress code simplifies it. Now apply that to 2026. The exhibition is costume art, the dress code is fashion is art. At first glance, they look identical, and that's exactly why this year is so misleading, because the gap between them is not visible in the wording. It's more conceptual. Costume art is a curatorial investigation which explores the relationship between the body, clothing, and representation across art history. It's about how the dressed body functions as a subject in art. But fashion as art, on the other hand, sounds obvious, almost too obvious. So people interpret it like this: be creative, look artistic. Turn yourself into a literal piece of art. But the theme is not asking you to look like art in the literal sense. It's asking you to engage with how fashion operates as art. And those are completely different things, I think, which is the reason for those disappointing literal interpretations, dresses that mimics paintings, outfits that resemble sculptures, all visually striking but conceptually shallow. People are judging outfits based on how well they match a literal idea of the theme instead of asking what the outfit is actually doing. Because fashion in this context is not illustration. It's not about representing something. I think it's more about construction, reference, transformation of the body, and meaning. So when people say this doesn't fit the theme or this is perfect for the theme, what they're actually saying is this matches my simplified version of the dress code, not the exhibition, not the concept, and not the framework. But that brings us to the real insight. The Met Gala doesn't fail when people misunderstand the theme. It depends on it, because ambiguity creates interpretation, and interpretation creates debates, and debates create cultural relevance. So the next time you watch the Met Gala, don't just is this beautiful? Is this on theme? Ask something better. What framework am I using to judge this? Because if the framework is wrong, then the conclusion or the judgment will be wrong as well. So if you enjoyed this breakdown, you can support the channel by liking the video and subscribing. And I usually talk about everything arts, culture, politics, philosophy. So if this is the type of content you find enjoyable, share and subscribe to the channel. I already said that, but yeah. Hope to see you in the next one. Love you and take good care. See you.